In this module of the Microstation tutorials, we're going to go over three very basic commands that are an addition of the standard drafting tools, and those are going to be utilizing the sieve tools to set elevations, the batch print command, and utilizing the pipe key-in, which is to repeat a command. First, we'll start with utilizing the civil tools. And Civ Tools toolbar is basically the only thing we use it for is to set elevations of elements. Previous tutorial made you ensure that your depth lock was on, but let's say you've created a grading plan and you need to create a surface for volumes or so forth, then you will want to set the individual contour line elevations. You can access the Civ Tools toolbar by going to Utilities and MDL Applications. Notice that Civ Tool shows up here for me automatically. You will need to ensure that under Workspace Configuration, your MDL apps, MS MDL apps, is pathed to the location where your MDL applications are. It can be this exact path, or if you've copied the folders to your local server, you will need to path it there. So Utilities, MDL Applications, I'll select Civ Tools and hit Load. And move it to the other screen so you can see it. There's several tools on here. The one that we use most often is the Set Element Elevation command. When you select it, you can either set all of them to a single elevation, such as I'll choose 600 and select them. Now if I tentative snap to it, you'll see that the elevations are at 600. Or if you're doing a grading plan and you want the bottommost to be 600 and you've done 2-foot contours, you can increment it and you'll notice that the elevation changes for each one. So 600, 602, and 604. And that's basically it for the setting elevations toolbar. If you have accidentally started drawing a drawing, you've drawn a whole thing and your depth lock was not on, which will happen more often than not, then you can just select everything and set them all to 0, just like this. And now they're all at 0 elevation. That is more than likely what you will use this command for more than anything else, unless you are often drawing grading plans for site work. Next is going to be the batch print command. The batch print command allows you to create PDFs or print files from multiple sources or even multiple files with a single command. To access the batch print command, you will need to type in your key-in MDL load batch PLT, and once you hit enter, the batch print command box will open. Let's make this a little smaller here. And the way this thing works is you will set a printer, which is basically a printer driver, which can be any of these prefabricated ones, or if you go to properties, you can select a print driver, and these are automatically installed. More often than not, you will be using the PDF.pltcfg. I'll select that, and in that case you will choose the paper size, ANZD in this case, and you can either print each sheet as individual or as a single file and path it to where you would like to go. Once all of that is done, you'll select OK. Under print area, I'll go to properties, and this should be set once and you should never have to set it again. In this case, we have a box drawn around every sheet, which is 24 or 22 by 34 on a level called level 63. And we were telling the software to look for each one of those shapes. There are different ways of doing it, but we're going to utilize that most often if you are drawing in have sheets in model space. You do want to process multiple boundary elements, but do not utilize references, so only in the master file. Once this is set once, you should never have to do it again. Leave layout on maximize, and the only thing you should check on under display is if you're not wanting colored PDFs, is to ensure that this is on grayscale. Everything else should be set as is. We typically do not utilize pen tables, but if you need to create pen tables for a client, here's where you select it. Once all that is set, you can add files. In this case, I'm only going to have this one, so I will select it and hit OK, and it will show up here. Something to keep in mind, that if I was doing a complete plan assembly, the order in which the files are listed in this is the order in which they're be created. So if you're creating a PDF and it is a single PDF for the entire plan assembly, it is important to ensure that you have them in order here. Once all that's done, you can just hit the print icon and it will either have all or selected. If I have that, actually have that highlighted, and I hit the print command, it'll change it to selection, but I'm going to change it to all. This should be the reiteration of the path that we gave it earlier. And if I hit OK, notice in the background it's processing each one of these sheets. Once it's done, it'll ask if I would like to save, and I will say yes. And if I had had a different drawing, it would have moved to the other drawing. Now, it created a PDF of all the sheets. And this is the command you'll utilize for creating PDFs of an entire plan assembly. Once you have a batch print made, let's say it's for your whole plan assembly, rather than have to go through those steps every time, you can save this and if you reopen the batch print log for, let's say you need to make another revision set, you can just select it and hit open and it would automatically come in. So all of your previous settings are automatically saved. So you should typically have a batch job for every set of plans that you do. It's the quickest, easiest way to create plot files. And if you wanted to make versioned data, you just go under printer and you would change the path or change the name with a date or so forth. And that's it for batch print command. Now we're going to cover utilizing the pipe command. The pipe is the key that is above your enter key on the right hand side of your keyboard. It is not the /. It is when you hit shift, so when you hit shift and / it's basically a vertical line. It's called the pipe command. Now utilizing the pipe in the key in tells Microstation repeat the command X number of times. And so in this case, usually it's utilized for creating grids, or in this case it's to number all these sheets. And you see here that I've already got them numbered, and the numbers are on level called sheet number. So I'm going to go ahead and use my power selector and select all sheet number and just delete them. And I'm going to come back over here to these two and turn sheet number back on. I'm going to take this sheet number and copy it on top of itself, so that is now active, and call it 100. And I have text on top of text. And the reason I turned on both sheet 1 and 2 is to show you that the distance that I have set up my sheets is it's 390.025. Write that down, and usually it's best to ensure that that distance is an exact distance, not just 0.025 that I have here. Now I'm going to turn them back off, Now that I know the distance between every sheet, and every sheet is spaced the same, I'm going to utilize the copy and increment text command, an increment of 1, select the text. Now if I just select somewhere, it's going to increment it up, as you see. But we have an exact distance we want these to be. So I will select it, and then in my key in, I'm going to use our DX command, which if you remember from previous tutorial means move, and type in the X distance and the Y distance. In our case, it's 390.025 feet to the right, which is positive on the X, comma, no Y. And I'm going to use my pipe command, hit the pipe, and say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 22 times. You hit 22. When I hit enter, you'll notice, actually it's supposed to be 21. You'll notice that it automatically numbered every one of these in the correct location, and it incremented them up. You can utilize that command for copying. I want to copy this line, type in DX and say 10 to the right, none to the left, or none vertical, and 3 times, and hit enter, and it automatically does it. So the pipe just basically tells it to repeat the command X number of times. And that concludes this tutorial of some of the miscellaneous commands that are in Microstation.